Josh, thanks for coming in,
Yes,
bro.
of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely awesome. We have a mutual connection. Art by Frank.
Yes.
And I can tell, actually, you have beautiful ink, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
bro.
Yeah. I guess a lot of people, when they see me, they'll be like, oh, what did you kind of start off doing? I'd be like, tattoo artist. And they're like, yep, that makes sense.
So actually, I didn't know that. So, yeah, you were an artist.
Yep. I've been an artist my whole life pretty much. And then on my around 20, 21-year-old, that's when I started to get into tattooing and everything else.
Excellent. Wicked. And just for the mics, usually around here is pretty good. Yeah, just pull it towards you. There you go. Cool.
Yeah, sweet. There we go.
Yeah, wicked, man. Sick. And then so from the life of a tattoo artist, do you still do it at all?
Yeah. So I still own the shop. Frank and I were partners on it, so we both own it together.
Amazing.
And then I tattoo a few days a week now. But the cool thing is it's gotten to the point where it's been 12, 13 years. So fitness became sort of my second passion years ago, and now I can concentrate a little bit more on that while still being able to enjoy the first passion I had, which was tattooing. And
That's
tattooing
amazing,
people.
man. That's amazing. Yeah, I myself too. I'm trying to get out of this. Being known as a real estate photographer.
For sure.
Right? I am many other things too.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing that unfortunately it's true. You're into training and you must only do that. No, that's not true. You own a tattoo shop.
Many hats, right?
That's so sick, man.
Yeah. I always find that the older I get, every year that goes by, I find new passions and new things I like to do. And I think just kind of sticking in that little safety zone, I don't know, you're not really growing or anything. And if I can find new things to just kind of keep me occupied and things that I love doing, then it just
man.
Makes everything worth doing. So,
100%. We're not training factory workers anymore.
Yep.
And that's kind of one of the downsides of the school system is we need more community
for sure
orientated stuff and group stuff, working together.
I agree.
And not just doing the same thing every single day.
Yes. It's insane too. I feel like the more people I talk to, the more you hear about people. Everybody's trying to find kind of what they actually enjoy doing and trying to find a way to monetize it and actually spend their time doing that and something they like rather than sort of just the clock in, clock out. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If people
of course.
enjoy doing that. But
some people do want that monotone
for sure.
sort of same thing every single day. Good for
Some
them.
people love that clock in, clock out, having that schedule laid out for them, and then other people a little bit more kind of entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, I'd be skeptical that they're NPCs, but I don't know. That's another conversation.
For sure. You never know, right?
Yeah, man. So introduce yourself. Grew up in the area, or even if you didn't, you're still a person.
So I'm my name's Josh Wilson. I grew up in Whitby. I've been in Whitby pretty much my whole life. My parents moved to Brooklyn, or moved me to Brooklyn probably around the grade 5-ish kind of time. And then I've spent pretty much my whole life here and I love it. So there's no real need to move anywhere. Mm-hmm. I did go to school out in BC, which I did love, and the mountains are beautiful and all that. But home is where the heart is, and I've just kind of always loved this area. So
right on. Did you get the West Bug when you were in BC?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. There was times when I was there, I was just if I could move everybody I know from here out there, then this would be perfect. But
but the reality,
the air is a little nicer.
Yeah, I love the Durham region and Whitby specifically. Grew up myself in Whitby, went to school. I started Ormiston to Vandenbosch to Pringle Creek.
Okay.
And not because I was a bad kid and got expelled, but just because the school boundary line changed.
Yeah.
So I got shuffled around.
Yep.
And then went to Wilson.
Okay,
and,
I went to Wilson as well.
Oh, sick, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I was the first the first group of grade 9s to ever go there. So it was that first year that it opened. So
wicked.
Which made it feel like a very small high school because there wasn't any grade 11s or 12s or whatever when we were there. But
right, yeah. Did you play football or anything else?
Yeah, I played football. Sick. Yeah, I played football all through the 4 years there, and then ended up going to Guelph and played football, and then out to UBC for
because it's a huge football factory.
Yes,
Wilson.
Yes, I mean they don't have a football team anymore, which is crazy. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But they did when we were there. It was kind of the sport to play. It had a little bit more of a American school vibe to it, for sure.
Right, yeah. We had a great gentleman. I forget his name, but came from Wales, Welshman, and I was on the rugby team for a bit.
Okay.
I was a hooker and winger,
nice.
The opposite ends of what you play in rugby.
Yes.
For a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name because I remember he came down. He was one of the coaches there forever. And, his name
Zimmerman.
Yes, that's Zimmerman for sure. Yeah. So it was him, and then there was Coach Papadakis and Janice and all those. Yeah. So yeah, see, small
That's awesome,
world, right?
dude. Yeah. I liked Zimmerman teaching geography. That was like probably one of my favorite courses. I think.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
That. Yeah, that's so
So
funny.
what are you doing these days now with
I run an online fitness platform. It's called Iron Suns Training. It's like a one-on-one coaching, basically a whole platform. I like to call it a white glove service, to where it goes everything from your nutrition to like macro training to everything that you'd need to do in a gym, or depending on how much equipment you have, I can do full programs from your house, anywhere like that. I just like to make sure that it's all encompassing. It kind of takes any of the guesswork out that most people struggle with. And I just run everything through my app to make it nice and easy. So it's just, I try to make something all encompassing to make it nice and smooth for everybody.
Wicked. Yeah. That sounds good. Like even for me, I did mention that I'm super interested in it.
Yeah,
Would love to find out some more info. So we can kind of use me as like a guinea pig with some compost.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's awesome.
So like this morning, I did maybe about 15 minutes on the rowing machine.
Okay, yeah.
And that was fun.
Yeah. Anytime you're kind of starting your day off with a little bit of cardio, gets the endorphins going, really starts to get the blood moving. You just feel better the whole day, right?
100%.
I'm a big fan of getting workouts done in the morning, although wherever you can fit them in is the best. But the morning just kind of sets your day off in a good direction, and as you can probably tell, you probably have more energy, right, for the rest of the day.
I very much agree with the mornings too.
Yeah.
Especially now, like, going into, I'll be 30, I'm 35 April 4th.
Okay, nice.
So I'm not,
Well, happy early birthday.
Thanks, man. I'm feeling it, bro. I'm so tired.
Yeah. It hits hard. I feel like as soon as you kind of hit that mid 30s too, like I'm about to turn 36 in May, and yeah, same kind of thing. You definitely start to notice it over the last few years, where energy levels were super spiked your whole 20s, and then you throw kids in the mix and everything else, and everything starts to speed up while you're sort of slowing down. But I know, I totally get it.
100%, man. But yeah, no, that's great. I'm so happy to see that something like this exists, and hopefully people that are discovering it can very simply just reach out and discover it for themselves and see if it's a good fit for them.
For sure. So like a lot of the stuff that I do is I try to do a lot of like the trade shows and everything else, just to try to talk to as many people, because I do find that community is number one. So if you can, the more people you talk to, the more people you kind of get in contact with. I just find you build these like small communities, you build trust within that community, and then you can kind of really hone in and see like, what makes everyone tick? Like, where can I optimize this program to make sure that everybody's actually going to reach whatever goal they're going for, or feel better, more energy, lose fat, whatever that might be. It's a little bit more than like just like that, like cookie cutter kind of program you might see in some other places. But I try to do everything as person specific as possible.
True,
right?
Yeah, because everyone is different. That's true.
Totally. There's no one size fits all for any programming.
Right. And at least like there is a benefit of being shorter myself, because I don't have to work as hard. But you yourself, like, what's your regimen? Because you're a tall dude.
It definitely is. It's for the most part, it's a little easier if you're shorter to put on like more muscle, right? Or at least it looks like you put on more muscle. Yeah. Certain movements and like weights, like if you're like an Olympic powerlifter, it does kind of favor shorter statures than it does for like people with really long femurs and everything else.
True, right.
But again, there's ways that you can modify any movement, like squats and everything else, to make sure no matter what height, weight, anything else, you can still do it comfortably, so the pressure's off like joints, and still like hitting that hypertrophy, the most muscle you can possibly gain, right? For me, I usually do like a 5 or 6 day split, depending on kind of where I am. I'm a big fan of rest days. I know there's a lot of like a culture around like sort of like the grind culture nowadays, where it's just like 7 days on, like no breaks, do it like, which I mean, in all fairness, sometimes I know people have like an all or nothing mindset. I spent a lot of years in that one too, specifically when at the beginning of my fitness journey, when I was trying to lose a lot of weight. And sometimes I can set you in the right kind of path or the right motion, but to properly grow muscle, to properly make sure that, you have like load and fatigue management, to make sure that you're training for longevity and not just for like a short amount of time where inspiration's high, you have to make sure you have those built-in rest days, and you have to make sure you're taking care of your body so you're avoiding injuries. And most of the time with the clients I work with, at least, it's like, the number one thing is more energy. I work with a lot of people with young kids, so it's like I want to be able to, be awake in the middle of the day and not feel like I want to sleep on the couch. I want to make sure I can chase my kids around. I want to make sure that, I'm fit and I feel and look good to even like wife or husband or whatever else. So yeah.
There's some good points. Cause like, I mean, it's so important. Like the body and the mind are literally connected.
For sure.
We don't need to argue that.
Yeah.
And like for performing at work, whatever you do, whether you're a business owner or work or you have a physical job or you're sitting 8 hours a day, I read something really interesting. I think it was Gary Brecka. Who said something like, like an hour of working out a day doesn't really cancel out 8 hours of sitting a day.
For sure. Yeah.
Even, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So if you get a phone call, walk around and take that phone call.
For sure. I'm again like that. Like there's a ton of little like kind of like hacks you can do where it's like even after you eat a meal, take that time. If you have a dog, take your dog for a walk. Yeah. Take your kids outside and play and all that. I hear a lot of people being like, oh, I don't really have time to work out and stuff. And then I'm always like, well, do you have kids? And it's like, yeah. It's like, well, if you take them outside for 40 minutes and actually play with them, like you're getting steps in, you're getting that workout in. And all that adds up over the days.
True.
And that does help a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. We actually, this is light bulb just went off. Years ago, probably one of my bigger projects, we did a workout DVD back when we were printing DVDs and putting stickers on them and everything for Roots Canada.
Okay.
And there was a gentleman who was like a boxing champion in Toronto. And in whatever division, I have no clue, to be honest. But he was a really good, successful boxer. And so he created this workout DVD for families. So we filmed it in a gym, and it was like his 3 kids and mom and dad all working out together, doing workouts that they can all do together, which was really fun.
Honestly, if you can get your kids involved, it's going to keep you motivated. It's going to keep your kids motivated. If your kids watch you work out, there's a much higher chance that they're going to live a healthy lifestyle too, right? Same thing with, I think it's a huge thing if you have a supportive partner, because it makes it that much harder if your wife or husband is a little like apprehensive, or maybe they might feel a little left out in the things in the like fitness realm. So if you can include them and include the whole family, I think that does wonders for everyone. If I can somehow build in like any type of little hacks where, like I said, you can get, if you're trying to get steps in every day, like it's you go for a walk with the whole family. You take the kids out, you take the wife out, you take husband out, whatever it is, and you just work through it, right?
Yeah. I got to give massive credit to my wife Abby. For the longest time, I was like, like not a gym rat, but like I wanted to go to the gym, and like I used to go on jogs every morning and so healthy, and then I'd be like, let's go, like all the time, to the point where I just gave up. And that's fine.
Of
that's
course.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But now, like, she goes to Lifetime and she's got a personal trainer, and I'm like, what the heck? Good for her.
Yeah.
But now I'm the slump on the couch.
I know. It's funny how that tends to happen sometimes, where it's just like a timing thing, where it's like, okay, I had my year where I was doing this all the time, and then it kind of flips back and forth.
I think her motivating factor was being healthy for pregnancy and delivering.
For sure.
So that was like it wasn't even like a consideration. It was just get your butt off and go and do it.
I find that a lot of times when people actually really start to self-reflect and kind of dig deep, you find that why, like, you know what I mean? And if you actually think about it, and a lot of the times it can be something as simple as like, I just want to look good for my spouse, or I want to look good because my whole life I felt like I didn't, or it could be, I want to make sure that, my kids see me healthier. I want to be a good example for my kids. You just got to do a little bit of that digging. And I find that is like a huge motivating factor, a huge factor that just contributes to just being disciplined 100%. For the long run, right?
Yeah.
If you just start doing like kind of random things, it doesn't usually last that long. So,
True.
You got to find that why that kind of everybody has.
Yes, and keeping it all together, having like whether it's a program or just like structure.
Yes,
right? And that's what you can provide.
Yes, yeah, so, that's what I really try to work on. Yeah, structure wise, it's like I want to make sure that. So the way I usually run everything is, there is one way that a lot of people will look at how to make a fitness program, or just a lifestyle program for that matter. And it's like, we're going to make the most optimal program ever. And that is an okay way to look at things sometimes, but most people will have that high burst of motivation at the beginning, and then it slowly starts to taper off. And if you're giving them something that's so far out of their comfort zone and so far advanced then a lot of the times you will notice that people will fall off, or it'll be like, this is too much and everything else. So the way I like to approach things, and this is something I learned a while ago, is sort of like that 80-20 rule. Like I would like to have a program that's 80% most effective, and then you can do it 100% of the time. There's got to be a little bit of leeway, specifically when people are starting out. You can always kind of like build it as you go, but you want to have something that people will sustain, people will keep with. Right. Yeah. So if there's a little bit of variance here and there, or like everybody wants to be able to, have a snack with their kids on the weekend every once in a while and stuff like that. And I think that there's definitely a place for that once you understand, your macros, how your macros work, how your body's going to like adjust to those and everything else. There's definitely a little bit of wiggle room. But I would much rather have people be able to live their life, enjoy it while still making progress, rather than just have like a 2-month like burst of energy and then just taper off completely, right? And end up right back where they were at the beginning. For sure. Yeah. So do you think there may be like short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals? That you For sure. Yeah. Like again, so if someone was like, okay, I have a photo shoot in a month, or I'm like, I have a bodybuilding show in the next like 16 weeks at the end of the 16-week phase, then there's definitely a need to kind of really dial in and be like, this is exactly what we're doing. There's very little like lenience. We're going to be pushing as hard as we possibly can for that amount of time. And then we can kind of play around with it after. And then again, if we're just talking about, which in my case is like most of my clients are usually like in their mid 20s to mid 40s kind of range.
Right. Yeah.
And most people just want to feel healthy, feel good. They want to lose some body fat and just, again, for longevity. And I don't think the whole, go till you puke or go till you throw up every day is a healthy way to necessarily go about that, specifically for the longevity kind of factor.
Yeah, right? A little too hard.
Yeah. And like I've seen it before where, like even at the beginning when I first started training people, again, you always want to, as a trainer, come up with like the most optimal plans and like show everybody like, how smart you are as a trainer to do all these things. And you have to work with people. You have to meet people where they are. And I find that if you don't, you will have those people falling off, and you will see the motivation come down. Or in my case, like on like the online coaching like platform and app, you'll see like check-ins start to like be a little slower, and you can see it, right? So
for sure,
I would like to see people continuously getting better rather than that quick burst and then slowly slip off.
Any suggestions on like if you see someone after a month like starting to taper off? Any like what do you do, or you can't really, people need to help themselves?
So I mean, again, so for the most part with that, it'll just come down to, okay, let's sit down, let's talk about it, let's figure out where something's happening. Like, let's figure out, okay, is it the diet plan? Is it like what macros you have? Is it just like you're traveling all the time for work? Because a lot of the times you can really, once you start asking questions, you can really kind of like hone in and figure out like where these people need help. And a lot of the times people are very like prideful and they don't want to necessarily ask for help in those situations. They think like, okay, I've given them, there's your meal plan for the next 2 weeks. And they think, okay, I just have to like stick to this. And then if I don't, I'll either like won't track it, or I won't say anything, or I won't ask for help because they've told me, or my coach has told me that I have to do this. But honestly, most of the time, it's just like a quick conversation. Like I have people that travel all the time, and at the beginning, I always ask that, and I'm like, "What's your job like? Like, are you traveling a lot?" And if that is the case, then it's easy to be like, "Okay, here are some options that might not be the best possible options," because as you know, going to like airports and everything else, it's super hard to try to eat healthy, and you can't really meal prep too much when you're doing that. But there's enough healthy options where if you're gone for the weekend on work, we can kind of minimize any damage, so to speak, and then keep that program going right when you get back.
Nice, wicked.
Yeah,
it's nice that you like, you didn't even hesitate, but like you said, like sit down and talk with them, or over the phone, or whatever.
Yeah,
that's huge, and I think that like that goes like that speaks volumes on like you don't just like, well, it sucks for them if they don't want to do it.
No. I mean, for me, it's funny. Like, I know this might sound like kind of cheesy or corny or whatever, but like I have found that just being like kind of in service to others and helping other people, and like just seeing the looks on some people's faces when they're 3 months in and they've made these kind of drastic changes, that's like the most fulfilling thing I've ever had. Nice. And I think that is what actually has kind of kept me in the fitness industry. Like I just became one of the most fulfilling things, and it's actually like, you know, kind of given me my why I like to do this kind of stuff.
Wicked.
I started off about, I guess it was 6 years ago now. I was about 330 pounds, and I was just kind of sick of feeling like crap all the time. I knew I wasn't prioritizing health. I was eating terribly all the time. My mom was heavier, and she passed away from a heart attack when I was 21, and it was kind of like a sudden thing. And then my dad, after that, kind of, he wasn't taking care of himself. He was a little obviously depressed and everything else. And he started to have all those health issues. He had a stroke and a heart attack and everything. And I remember I went into the gym one day, and I stood on the scale, and I wasn't ever weighing myself before that. And I like stood on the scale, and I was like, wow, I'm 330 pounds. I do not want to follow in those footsteps, right? So it's become like a very kind of personal journey for me.
Yeah, man.
And then like seeing just like being able to help anybody else, whether their circumstances are just want to feel better, or if they have that same kind of, you know, super personal thing in their life where they don't want to follow in the footsteps of family members or whatever else. Yeah, I just get a lot of joy and pleasure and fulfillment out of helping people. Man. So
yeah. And what's the meaning behind the name Iron Sons Training?
So with Iron Sons Training, I wanted to. For me, it was like I just wanted to have a sort of powerful name, something that it resonated with me. Honestly, it was one of those things where I was thinking about it for a long time, and it just kind of stuck in my head, and I just kind of ran with it. Yeah.
Yeah, because like from as an outsider, it kind of feels like we're all like sons, you know, whether we're your son or like whatever,
for sure,
or like we're sons to like a higher like purpose, you know.
Yes, 100%.
And like taking care of ourselves and being able to, we are good, and then we can take care of our children.
For sure. Yeah. Like one of my things that I would say is like legacy is built, it's not given, right? So like I feel even when it's like, again, showing your kids, like making sure that your life is something that they're going to look up to. And ever since like with my 2 stepchildren, like my life has changed drastically, and I just want to be a good example, you know? So
that's epic, man.
Yeah.
Legacy's huge. Legacy is on my mind all the time.
For sure.
It's the way that we can kind of be immortal, you know, and without living forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
we can pass down, making our kids, you know, live the best lives that they possibly can. And hopefully they're not brats about it.
Yeah. They have their moments.
But, you know, discipline and keeping that, you know, I guess like just carrying down those traditions though, because you want to, you know, you can give a kid all the freedom in the world and money, but then will they have the discipline to be able to teach their kids?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just cyclical. And
and I feel like nowadays you see that kind of stuff all the time. And I mean, I know everybody's intentions are usually good going into things, but I don't know. I think there's like a right way and a wrong way. Maybe.
Yeah, true.
Wrong, maybe not, but like there's different ways of doing things, and I think there's a good example you can set. And
definitely, well, now you know there's this 4-phase or 3-phase of the Roman Empire where, you know, hard times create weak men, and I think hard times make strong men, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at right now. So we have a bunch of strong men coming up.
For sure. Yeah, I have noticed that with the next generation kind of coming up. You notice a lot more people taking their health seriously. You see a lot less, which was like kind of crazy to me here. Like no high school kids are really like drinking and partying and all that kind of. It's like mind blowing from like when we were kids, right?
Yeah, incredible. They're all role models. They're all valedictorians. And so the next gen, not so much the one right preceding mine, but the one that's right after them.
Yeah, for sure. There's always a little bit of a gap, right? Yeah. No, for sure. And everybody that I've met and talked to in the last little bit, it just seems they're very like concentrated on like, how do I make my life better? How do I make money to support a family? And how do I take care of my body?
Nice.
Which is awesome to see. Yeah.
I'm so excited for every day. I'm always obviously thinking about AI and how it will help and enhance all of that too, right? Like I'm like so excited for like some humanoid robot to be like a slash butler slash not so much a pet, but like almost like a family member.
For sure.
And like, we, you know, instead of just like, hey, Alexa, this and that, we can just be like, hey, whatever to like this thing. And it'll be an educator, a teacher.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be wicked.
It's it's scary in some ways, but it's like it's super exciting and interesting in other ways too. Sort of like iRobot, right? So,
yeah. But we can't lose the human element.
For sure. And that's like I know specifically like bringing it back to like training and stuff. There's a lot of people will use like, you know, ChatGPT and everything else to help them make programs and everything. Mm-hmm. It will kind of always lean a little bit more towards just kind of taking whatever you say and being like, yep, that's right. You should do this. You should do that.
I've noticed that.
But I feel like what's kind of also happened too is I feel like specifically with like sort of the service industry, people want that like human connection nowadays, right?
Definitely.
People want the accountability from another person. People want to have check-ins with another human. So it has its ups and downs. Mm-hmm. It has its ups and downs.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever we go through drive-through, it's so funny because it's like the shortest human interaction you'll ever have, but it means so much, and it could like affect your entire day.
Yeah.
And when someone is like so positive and like uplifting and like so cheerful, that just like kind of like coasts with you
for sure
for the rest of the day. And the opposite is true too, where it's like if someone's like, is that it? Like after every time you order something, it's like, no, that's not it. I have 3 other things.
Yeah. There wasn't even a pause in what I was saying. Yeah. For sure. It's easy. Yeah. It's very easy to kind of, your mood is adjusted by kind of how, you know, how you interact with the world. So
100%. That was a topic. I just had Michael Kappa on from Altona Paints.
Okay, nice.
And he's just brilliant, absolutely incredible. And like I think his always like cheerful attitude, business card, like you're always a business card to people was why. Like he's just such a great connector, and I feel like that's the case with anyone that comes in, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Just being like best face forward.
Yep.
And that's huge. Like otherwise, like, you know, and I think it'd be sad if anyone is not like that, because they're going through hard shit, obviously, probably.
Yeah. Everybody's got stuff that's happening every day. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I'd hopefully like to see more neighbors and Canadians, just strangers on the stranger level, just being a little bit more kind to each other.
For sure. Yeah. And you get pockets of it. You get it here and there. And it's, I think most people nowadays, though, or a lot of people anyway, everybody's kind of just off in their own world, and you don't get quite as much of that anymore. But
I think it's coming back, though.
Yeah, for sure. I think that depending on who you choose to interact with, right? Yeah. So if you're that type of person, I find that you kind of like almost subconsciously build that bubble around you of those people. So you go the places that you know will make you feel good. You talk to the people you know are kind of like-minded. And
speaking of, so you go to is it TWG?
TYG.
YG rather,
yeah.
And it was highlighted, the Michael McDougall team. That was when I first saw it.
Okay,
They did like a little highlight video based on like what it's all about.
Yeah,
which is so smart. That's a whole other topic, marketing tactic. That's super brilliant.
Yeah, nice.
But tell me about the gym.
So TYG, I coach there as well.
Nice.
So it's like a hypertrophy, and it's basically an all-around like athlete training gym. There's like a turf side and a rig side. So on the rig side, you get like all your main lifts in, from like compound lifts to like anything. A lot of it's like squat, bench, deadlift, a lot of barbell movements.
Wicked.
And then the turf side is, again, kind of taxing the cardiovascular system, where you have a lot of like the rower, which you'd love. And then, and then like the bike ergs and ski ergs and all that kind of stuff. And you're using a lot of dumbbells and everything else too. I've been coaching there since it opened about a year ago. And it's one of the best gyms like I've ever been to. Sick. For sure. Nice. It's an awesome spot. And like the owners, Chris and Witt, amazing people.
Wicked.
Amazing people. It's honestly a wonderful gym, and I know that like when the McDougall team came in, they loved it. And usually everybody that comes in the door kind of like, oh, okay, this is something different, and this is not what I expected.
Cool. Yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of times there is a little bit of like a stigma when it comes to like the classes, and sometimes people think it leans a little bit more towards like a female audience, and this gym has done wonders for everyone. Like I've seen specifically like women who have come from other class-based studios lifting like super heavy, hitting PRs all the time. And then we have a lot of like men come through where they're so shocked at like what the programming is. And again, same thing, getting stronger like week after week. it's been awesome. Yeah, it's a really
Nice.
good spot.
That's wicked. Whereabouts is it?
So it's right across from like the White Oaks building on Dundas and Whitby.
Amazing. Yeah,
and
I'm
like
familiar.
that No Frills Plaza there.
Wicked, cool.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar. I wonder if is it towards like more the right side?
It's right beside the Dollarama. And the subway there.
Okay,
yeah.
because that it used to be a different gym long time ago.
It was F45.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an F45, same owners, and then they ended up switching over.
I see.
They just kind of saw when this gym sort of decided it's from Australia originally, and when they kind of noticed how awesome the programming and everything was, they were like, you know what? This is the switch we're gonna make.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because like when you change like the core philosophy of like the place, that's what people need that going into something. So you do that from the very beginning.
Yep.
You're instantly just like your mind changes.
For sure. And like the same thing. The thing that I love, I think, the most about this gym is again like the community. Like everybody there, like even like how you had John on last week. He's there all the time, and it just you just build these contacts and you build this like for basically a little family of like people who just are, all working towards a kind of specific goal. Whether it's very similar to everybody's there to just kind of make themselves feel better, get stronger, feel good during the day. And I think I've met some of my like best friends and everything else through the gym.
Nice, that's wicked. It reminds me very much of like martial arts. It's basically a martial arts club, but you're not really like learning to defend yourself. Well, I guess maybe you are.
It's in a way, I guess. Yeah. I mean,
Right?
it's supplementary.
I think that just sounds way better than going to like a massive gym like Lifetime or Good Life or Planet Fitness.
Yeah, like everybody has like. It's funny. There's a lot of people that I know that they want their specific programming and they're like not closed-minded, but everybody has their way of doing things.
Yeah, true.
Some people love going to like the box gyms and just kind of putting their headphones on and zoning out and taking 3 hours or whatever to do their workout. And then other people really enjoy the class aspect and the community aspect.
Right.
Although I do believe that if more people went and tried things like TYG, that they would end up liking it more than they necessarily, without trying it, would think about it.
Of course, you got to try it.
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
It's just like, having an opinion on like a car, but you haven't driven it yet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And everybody's got an opinion before they try stuff. So yeah, no,
That's
100%.
sweet, man.
Yeah.
So what does at TYG, are you able to go anytime or is it strictly class based?
So it's class based.
Okay.
Yeah,
wicked.
yeah. So it's
Nice.
class based. There is like I also offer like I basically rent out the gym for Iron Sons too.
Nice.
So if I need
Cool.
any clients or anything like that, or if I have any clients or anything like that, I can always bring them in between like the kind of class schedule there.
Nice.
Because even though I am running mostly like for Iron Sons, the kind of one-on-one online coaching, I have like full availability for the gym to kind of get people in if they want to
sweet.
also do personal training.
Awesome.
And, yeah.
Wicked. That's
Usually I find it's a good way to like once I give you your programming and depending on what equipment you have, but like let's say you have access to a full gym or at least like a squat rack or something like that, then I can have you kind of come in, we can run through the program like in its entirety in a couple of days. So I can just kind of show you how to do each movement, like cue you on them. And then that way, when you're doing them by yourself, you feel that much more comfortable.
Wicked.
Right?
That's great.
Yeah.
So when you onboard, like the onboard process is pretty intensive and pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So usually the way I like once I've had like the call where I'm like, okay, like welcome to Iron Sons and all that kind of stuff. We go through everything from like your like eating habits, when you eat, like specific diets, what equipment you'd have at the house. Any movements that you like can or can't do based on like mobility or injury. And then I will take a couple of days because it does take a while to make sure you really kind of like build these programs out properly.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, start from the ground up, make something that fits the client's schedule. Because a lot of the times people may only have 3 days a week to work out, or they might have 6, and I can make any of those work. It just depends on, the length of time that you want to work out and what your specific goal is, right? And then I just kind of take all the information that I get. I have a few questionnaires and we sit down, we have like a nice long conversation, just like a nice casual conversation. And then I use kind of all that information and build out what I think is the most optimal thing for them to start doing. And then the way, and really where I think the magic is in it, is We try that out for a week or two. We see kind of where the progress is going. Every week we'll have like a full check-in where we kind of talk. I'll give feedback. We'll see kind of where you're progressing, where maybe anything needs to change. Specifically with, I find with like the meal plans and the dieting. And anything we need to change, we can change that at the end of each week or the beginning of each week whenever our check-ins are. That way it keeps progress driving forward. It's not just like, here's 12 weeks, talk to you then, hope it works out.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, okay, so maybe... maybe the squats you're not really getting that mind muscle connection. You're not really feeling these in the place that you should be. Let's maybe switch these out and try something else. Your calories you should be in a caloric deficit to lose fat. Maybe you haven't lost the weight that you thought you were going to, or that we thought you were going to. Let's maybe adjust these a bit, adjust the macros a bit, up the protein, whatever it is. So that way we can just keep it going and keep pushing it forward. Right?
Wicked. That's great, man. Yeah. Let's see. I feel like my algorithm on social media is like a good chunk of it is gym stuff, which is great. I'm sure yours is very much the
pretty
same.
Much. Yeah.
And I keep seeing things where it's like, like this is not done right. Here's how to actually do it. Do you come across things like that? And
for sure.
What are some common things?
For sure. So a lot of the times, form is a big one because. Like, for instance, squats. It's like if you're leaning too far back, if your knees are kind of pushing out way too far over the toes, there's so many little cues that you can give people for every exercise that really can make or break how you're feeling, or injury even for that matter. So a thing that I like to do too is if I can't run like a client through it in person, I'll get them to send me videos of their movements, and then it's like pretty easy to cue from there as well.
Yeah, because the human body is like literally like a whether you're like a pulley system or pushing or etc. And like changing something 10 degrees can make a huge difference, right? Yeah. Wicked.
Even like for instance, like lateral raises. A lot of the times people are like, okay, I want to work, like the lateral head of my delt, and they'll like only think because they're coming out perfectly on a lateral angle that's like going to be the most optimal for it, when really it's slightly towards the front, you know what I mean? So there's a million tiny little cues that you can kind of load people up with.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think on the opinion of like the ideal, or I guess everyone's personal preference on like how they want their body to look, right? You have like a wicked structure, like clearly, like everything seems to be like very like evenly based out.
I try.
I think there's even like a Fibonacci sequence or like golden ratio technically. So like you don't want to be like too much on like some areas, right?
For sure. Yeah, you can definitely, like once you've been in it a while, you can see if people are like, skipping leg day or skipping, depending on what kind of body part is maybe lacking. And again, a lot of people always have something that they want to work on. So there's like men specifically, I find that what ends up happening is they always have like a bit more of like a, bigger chest, bigger delts. Yeah, they work on their arms a lot. And then a lot of times I try to, in my programming, maybe hit the legs a little bit extra. So we can try to bring up those like body parts that I know that they're maybe not, as happy with as the rest of it. Totally. And
yeah, totally. I think it's so important to even out the body, because when you're fat burning factories are your muscles, right? So if like you're lacking muscle in the legs, like
for sure,
get those bigger, so then your diet is easier to maintain.
100%. Right? Yeah, the more muscle you have, the more the more your body's going to burn calories on a daily basis.
Right.
So a lot of times this is another thing that kind of happens a lot. People think that just like spamming and doing cardio all the time is going to burn fat, when in reality, the best way to kind of do it would be lift heavy weights within that 1 to 3 reps to failure range.
Nice.
Make sure you're doing that at least, 3 times a week. Keeping the calories either in that like caloric deficit if you're trying to lose fat, or if you're trying to build muscle, maybe in a little bit of a surplus. And yeah, you just cardio is great. Like, don't get me wrong, and cardio makes you feel good. And
for sure.
If you're actually working on like longevity, like working on making sure your heart's healthy and everything else, it does wonders. But a lot of the times, people kind of get that confused where they think just doing a lot of running all the time is really going to burn fat, when in reality there is better ways to do it.
100%. Yeah, true. Yeah. I had something in my head. Let's see. Oh, okay. So when if someone's training for like a marathon, though, obviously they need cardio.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it is muscle though too. Though,
for sure.
right?
But I mean, so like my original background before I really got into like the hypertrophy and like muscle building side of things was like Ironman training and marathon training and everything else. That was sort of my, once I transitioned out of like when I was trying to lose weight when I was heavier and decided to like really take my health in order, I was running all the time and that's when I did marathons and everything else. And yeah, if your training is specifically geared towards like my goal is running a marathon, then that is a whole other thing. Like you don't necessarily want to be building a ton of muscle, because the more muscle you have on you, the more oxygen, blood, everything else. So it makes it actually harder to run those paces that you're trying to get to.
Clever.
So again, it's nuanced and it comes down to whatever your specific goal is.
Yeah,
right?
if you're training at like the Olympic level, you literally need like down to like microscopic millimeter measurements. To perform at those levels.
For sure. Yeah, that's where you're like dialed in, beyond dialed in, and
pushing human potential.
Which is super fun. And like I have one of my athletes that I'm working with right now. He's running a 100-miler in August.
Oh,
so
that's like 3 times a marathon. Basically, right?
It's a long run, and with him, we're basically just like really working on getting like the volume in every week while keeping him healthy, because he was trying to do this by himself beforehand, and he was noticing he was getting injured a lot because he was just, all his runs were basically like pedal to the metal, let's run 10 to 20K a day, and he was getting injured quite frequently. And so now it's like take him back a little bit, make sure we can get the volume in while keeping him healthy, keeping all the joints healthy without, trying to pack on too much excess muscle or anything else, and making sure his like fueling and nutrition is on point.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, your diet needs to be super dialed in there too.
For sure. Yeah.
There was a gentleman, a friend of mine in high school. He was sponsored to run in the States, actually.
Okay.
And this is, you're probably going to laugh at this though. So to like recover muscle, I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe it is a legit thing. To recover muscle, he would open like a 2 liter of Coke and like let it like kind of what's the word?
Like let all the gas out.
Yeah. Leave it in the fridge and then just drinks like that to like recover his muscles.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, at the same time, like if you're getting like sugar in, it's basically just
not
like
the healthiest way to do it,
I mean, there's definitely other ways to do it, but so it's funny. So I remember when I was first competing in some of like the Ironman races, and it kind of blew my mind because I was in such a locked in mindset about nutrition, and there was like things that were just like on the bad side and things that were on the good side. And anything with like, processed sugar in it, in my mind was like always like, no, that's like bad. 100%. That's just on the bad side. I'm never going to like think about it or look at it.
Yes.
And then I realized it's a little bit more nuanced, because some of like the elite, even the professionals, were like eating bags of Haribo gummy bears while they were on their bike. And like, it's the quickest, like quick snap of like getting glycogen back in your system. And they always the most ideal thing for Ironman training or anything like that would be bananas. Bananas have like quick carb source, you got potassium, everything else, but you can't carry like 16 bananas on you when you go, right? So a lot of these guys, would like have like Haribo gummy bears or any other kind, and it kind of blew my mind. And then when I started talking to them and started learning about it a little bit more, I was like, okay, it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just like very specific as to when you're having these and what you're using.
Rare case uses for a little boost.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of my friends, Ajay, Kai Ajay, his cousin was known for like drinking like electrolyte pickle juice.
Okay,
and then going on the football field, and he went off to winning actually a Super Bowl one year too.
Yeah, see, it's that's the thing. It's so funny. Everybody has their like little formulas and stuff, and it's hard to say. Like, you know what I mean? The science is there. Sometimes it's like a little bit of a placebo effect, but I mean,
extreme humans will do extreme things.
Exactly.
Speaking of reps and sets.
Yep.
So this is kind of something I'm always interested in, and like, when would you ever fit in high rep sets, like quick ones, doing it like until failure, or is that like a bad thing to do?
So again, this depends on the goal specific. If you were trying to build muscle, then anything between 5 and 30 reps, as long as you're going to failure or within 3 reps of failure, then you're in kind of that like sweet spot for muscle building.
Okay.
Once you get over 30 reps, it's not that it's not going to work. It's just that it starts to taper off, and
you're almost doing cardio at that point, basically.
For sure. And you can work on muscular endurance a little bit more that way, but specifically just from like a muscle building standpoint, you always want to kind of be within that 1 to 3 reps of failure from 5 to 30 reps.
Nice.
Having said that, though, when you're going to muscle failure frequently and your rep and your volume is super high, it's making the recovery process a little bit longer.
Oh, okay,
right?
yeah.
So ideally, you would want to be in, and this is like what I usually prescribe or tell like my clients to do, is somewhere between the 8 and 12 rep range.
Wicked.
So you always kind of want to hit that failure within 3 reps to failure between that 8 and 12.
Nice. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of the times, the way I like to kind of program sets, always get warmed up. Get the blood to the muscles a little bit. So start off nice and light. If it's bench press, just the bar, squats, just the bar, get the blood moving, kind of get everything kind of into position, get the central nervous system just primed and ready to go. And then you can start adding a little bit of weight. I usually say if you're going to do that like 3 to 4 kind of set range, that third set should be your top set, which is your heaviest. And then a good way to kind of do things is maybe back off that fourth set just a little bit, still going to within those 1 to 3 reps to failure. And that just keeps kind of injury prevention really low, and it helps when you're like progressing, right?
Yeah. And at the gym, TYG, people are like kind of all spotting each other, I'm assuming.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. That is something that we talked about at the beginning. We were like, because like at TYG, for instance, we would run the classes, there's 8 rigs, so there's 8 different spots, and usually it's either in teams of like 2 or teams of 3, depending on how many people are in the class.
Great. Wicked.
So we were like, we got to make sure everybody knows how to spot each other when you're going through these, right? Because it could be,
of course,
could be disastrous.
No,
if somebody
totally,
doesn't know.
yeah. And that's great. You get to see like in groups of especially 2, 3, 4, whatever. You get to see like. Exactly how it's done before it's your turn to go.
For sure. Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
And we always do, like there specifically too, it's like always demos to show everybody how to make sure they're doing everything correctly.
Wicked, man.
But yeah, you gotta be really careful though, because again, sometimes people will come in kind of off the street and be like, oh, this place looks awesome. And then you really got to spend time coaching with like the one-on-one kind of make sure they
don't want an injury.
Yeah, no.
Do you guys have a sign that says like X number of days from injuries?
Actually, it's been good because again, there's a lot of like newbies that come into the gym.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, I was like, we got to really make sure that we're like proper form and technique, and 100%. Making sure they're not like trying to just like ego lift right off the bat.
Oh,
and
right.
Yeah, it's been good. There hasn't been anything too crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, excellent. Another so there's Ironman. And then I hear Hyrox all the time too.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're like, what are these, and what are like some other ones? Because I think they're great goal-orientated things to achieve towards.
Yes,
right?
for sure. I do. Yeah, that's another thing. I do find that people, when they have some sort of like event or goal that they're really like shooting for, keeps them on track for everything, right? Yeah. So Hyrox is awesome. Hyrox is like an event where there's 8 kilometers of running, and then there's 8 different strength exercises in between.
Sweet.
So it's like 1 kilometer run, then you do like skier, then you do 1 kilometer run, then you'd have sled push, kilometer run, sled pull, and you work your way kind of all the way through. I think the barrier for entry is like low for this. So you have, that's why I think it's amazing, because it's like anybody can kind of work towards it, right? Wow. If you've been working out for a few months, you can go and, take your time through it and still finish it. And it's just an awesome, again, community, right? Cool. So the community built around it is amazing. And it gives you sort of like a time goal to hit every year. So it's like they keep coming back to Toronto every year, or there's a million of them now all over the place. And every year you just try to get better and better. And it's just a good way to keep people kind of, committed and.
Yeah. And I love the community aspect of everything, because right now it's just like, I'm like, that's why I don't like going to the big box gyms, just because like I want to work out, and so that's why I work out at home. And I have a few of my own machines. For sure. But I love this concept of like going in it with like people ready to spot with you, and it's kind of like a community thing. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like even if you go to a box gym, I find for most people, you're going to get a better workout if you have a workout partner.
True.
There's absolutely. Just it's that human connection of keeping you accountable, like having somebody to push you through, the hard reps and everything else. So I find that even everybody at like TYG or in like those kind of settings, you can tell that because there's everybody around them doing the same thing, they're there's a much higher likelihood that they're pushing themselves to their limit and really, really, really making those gains and progress. It's not just everybody falls in that trap sometimes when you're working it at home. And if you have a program and you're like looking at it and you're like, oh, Bulgarian split squats, I really don't necessarily feel like doing those. And then maybe right before you do those, you're like, I'm just going to check my emails quick. And then 10 minutes goes by and you're like, yeah, it's good enough for today, right?
Nice, yeah.
Whereas this kind of, because it's in a time limit as well, you're kind of, forced almost to go through and get all the reps in. Yeah.
No, I like that. Yeah, I love the efficiency in it too. Like you said earlier, you said like, going to the big box gym, which is nothing wrong with.
For sure.
It's just a good example to keep saying it though. And then like it takes you 3 hours to work out.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like what's a class session?
So they're anywhere from like 50 minutes to an hour.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, you're in, you get it done. And it's a killer workout, and then you're out.
That's great. And I have no structure in my life in the sense that I'm bouncing around capturing real estate listings all the time, and it can be any hour of the day, down to like the quarter hour, right? Like when I need to arrive, and that's because of either like tenants or this and that or staging's not ready, etc.
For sure.
So it's impossible for me to try and find a time to like. Even go to the gym, right? But maybe now, especially in the past 2 years, we've hired some help. Becky Hunter and a few other contractors too that we keep. And I've personally have gotten so much time back.
Yes, nice.
and now it's
That's huge,
now it's about committing to it though.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like I probably could pick a time slot and stick
to
it.
And again, like even when I'm making all my programming too, I make sure because there's some people. They might only have, 45 minutes to work out in a day. And I'm not going to obviously give them a workout that's, here's an hour and a half workout.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Anything around the hour mark, I find that there's very little like excuse to not be able to get an hour in somewhere. Right?
Yeah. The one saying I like to say is, and I heard it from someone is, for people who think that they're too busy to work out, someone busier than you is doing it.
For sure.
And so it's like hands down 100%. There's no way you're the busiest person in the world and you can't fit in time to work out.
No.
There are busier people than you fitting in working
100%,
out.
And you see it like again, even at like TYG, you see it all the time and you start to like everybody in like a gym capacity, and then when you go to any like the like end of challenge parties or anything like that to like kind of like or the social gatherings, and you start really like finding out, you're like, oh, everybody has these crazy like high end, high profile jobs, and they all still show up every day, and they're all here.
Wicked, cool.
So
that's great. Well, I think that also speaks to them having been to attain that job, and like they're like some people are just built different too.
Yeah,
and so they're
for sure.
But for everyone else as well too, like can discover the ability to find and fit in this time is just huge.
For sure. And a big one too, I always find too, you can like talk to people and they'll be like, oh, I don't have time to work out, and you're like, well, just if you go on your phone, click screen time, and really see how much time you spent on your phone today.
Speaking of, I downloaded an app which that I know it was pretty cool actually, but I also run my business on social media too because of and many people do though. But especially us because we're content creators and doing videography and photography. But so I downloaded this app that literally you choose which apps you can lock. And you have to do push-ups. It's kind of like the Xbox controller thing where it senses body.
Yep.
And so it'll count how many push-ups you're doing.
This is cool. Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It was really fun. And so like, instead of doom scrolling, like I had to do, you can set either like one push-up is 1 minute or you can do vice versa, however you want it to be.
Awesome.
So I did like 20 push-ups because, to failure, I can do about 20 to 25, unfortunately, at the moment.
That's good. Yeah.
And so, I got 20 minutes to do scrolling on social media on like Instagram and stuff, but like I was actually messaging you, so it was like one morning like I don't have time to do push-ups. I need to find out if
what's going on.
So you know, a little gimmicky thing like that is like maybe good for some people.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, like there's not like an end all app that can like make you better fit.
Yeah, I mean nothing's gonna drag you to the gym itself. But I've even seen there's like that. It's like a brick that you can put on your fridge, and then you just tap your phone on it, and
cool.
it'll lock your phone no matter what for a certain amount of time. Like obviously you can still use your phone itself and like texting,
right.
but it'll lock all the social media apps for
That's
a
nice.
designated amount of time.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, we do need to get rid of this brain rot kind of thing that's been happening, especially with like the younger kids and stuff.
For sure.
But at least, like, I think the biggest thing is identifying that it's a thing.
Yes.
As opposed to, like, you know, I think that, like, you know, participation trophies in that era wasn't really, like, a thing until, like, after the damage was done.
Yes.
Whereas, like, this damage of brain rot is, like, instantly being, like...
for sure.
You know, we're very aware of it.
Yeah.
And there's already, like, a very quick response to trying to, like, solve that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's easy to fall into that trap, too. Like, again, I run a lot of everything from like the tattoo shop to Iron Suns and everything all online. And I'll get caught up in it too sometimes where it's like, okay, I've answered these DMs, I've talked to a couple clients, and then you scroll once and then you're just like, oh, you know, damn, like 3 hours went by. And you're like, yeah, probably wasn't the most productive thing to do right now.
Yeah.
But
so one more thing, cool down.
Yes.
And some tips on cool down and whatnot, because I think we kind of just did a workout exercise, and so now we're in the cool down phase.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So, I mean, depending on what you're doing, if it's like run cool down, you always want to try to get your heart rate back to that like kind of resting heart rate. Take it down like a little slower. A good measure of your fitness level is how quickly your heart rate will come back down to its resting heart rate. So if it's like within a couple minutes of, you know, a high intensity workout, and then you kind of monitor it a little over like the weeks and months, and it starts to come down a little faster, then you know like your fitness level is going up or your VO2 max is going up and everything. Stretching is a huge thing that you should be doing. Stretching after a workout or after 45 minutes after a workout is massive. And I know everybody, even a lot of the other coaches and trainers and everything else that I work with, including myself sometimes, that's like the one thing I find that a lot of people neglect is just kind of working through stretches. And if you can get a better range of motion, you'll notice your recovery goes up. You'll notice your strength will go up. Really, really just taking the time to make sure that you're kind of stretched out and your heart rate's back down to normal, and it does wonders, right?
Yeah. So, especially after a workout.
Like after a workout is I think is the most important. Yeah.
Nice. That does make sense. Yeah.
Like you should always do like a quick dynamic warm up at the beginning of everything, just to make sure, you know, you're not going cold right into something super heavy.
Right.
But after is kind of where the magic happens.
Yeah,
and sometimes if you do too many dynamic stretches and you're too warmed up, your body's already hitting a level of fatigue, and you might not perform the same way that you would if you were just doing something like a little bit quicker. Right?
True. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on like cold plunges and things like that for, I don't know, intense muscle recovery? Is it true?
So cold plunges are a tricky one. There's always so many like competing ideas with these kinds of things, right? Like I think cold plunges, as far as like, you know, doing something hard in the morning and it really kind of waking you up. And I know there's like the cold shock proteins and everything else. I think it has its place for things that I'm super interested in, like muscle hypertrophy and everything. You technically kind of want that stress and inflammation on the muscle, right? So there has been studies that show that if you do cold plunges after like an intense lift, it can actually kind of impede with your gains a little bit. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because it's like, same thing with taking like things like aspirin and everything else, like after or while you're working out and everything. Again, you want that muscle to sort of, you know, be inflamed and everything else. That stressor is what makes the muscle grow.
True.
So if you're kind of impeding that or putting something in place to kind of stop that, then it's not necessarily always the best thing, right?
Yeah. Interesting.
But I think... Yeah, cold plunges have their place for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that swear by them and stuff, but
amazing. Yeah, I do love your attitude. You know, you're not like a 0-1 black and white kind of guy. Like, there are places for everything, literally, but there is probably like the right path for most people at least.
Yes, of course,
which is true too, though.
I think throwing like a blanket statement on anything is a dangerous game to play, right?
True,
so if you're just like, this is good, this is bad, and it's an easy mindset to get in. And I know that especially with like trying to look at fitness advice on, you know, TikTok or Instagram, there's a lot of a lot of things that are just based in like fear, right? Because I guess everybody fear sells and everybody likes it. So there's no like one size fits all for everybody.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see less fear and more like inspiration and things like that. For
sure.
Which is I think what's happening more. Hopefully, at least I'm optimistic.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So when you're wanting to get into the zone in the right headspace and stuff, like meditation or like what do you do?
So a lot of the times, I guess it would be a form of meditation. It's more so just like I'll run through what I'm doing. Usually before bed, I try to make sure I don't have my phone near me or anything. And if I have like a big lift or I know I'm doing something a little different, I try to run through like the programming and everything else in my head before I go to sleep. I don't necessarily do like full blown meditation or anything like that. But for me to get in the right headspace, I find I feel like I've been doing this for so long now, and I've gotten. It's just become, I guess, discipline at this point, right? There's still a lot of mornings and days where I wake up and I'm like, the last thing in the world I want to do is go work out, but
sure,
it's just become easier and easier to kind of, this is just what I do. This is just like, put the shoes on and get out the door. You know what I mean?
It's so good to realize that too, that there are days, even with someone like yourself, that you got to be honest. Like some days it's like, I really don't feel like working out today. And that's inspiring.
Yeah.
And, like whether you still go or you take a rest day,
for sure,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like everybody, it's easy to look in and see all these like, whether it's like a fitness influencer or anything else, and just be like, oh, they just must feel great doing this all day, every day, and they have no problem doing it. Guaranteed, everybody feels that way where they wake up and they don't necessarily want to do everything. But I think this is where discipline will always trump motivation, right? So it's easy to be motivated at the beginning of a program, or it's easy to be motivated. You watch some like crazy pump up videos and everything else. But motivation will taper, so you got to make sure that you get those like the discipline in place, right? And that's just with anything in life, I find. Once you do enough repetitions of it, then it kind of just becomes second nature.
Yeah, right? Wicked. I think it takes about it's different for everyone, of course, but about 2 weeks for a daily habit to kind of become like less hard to commit to, I guess.
For sure,
right?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's the James Clear Atomic Habits is like one of the best books ever.
Oh,
too.
sweet.
So, it's
Awesome.
a good one,
Yeah. Any online like people that come to mind that like you recommend people to check out as well too and whatnot?
So there's so many.
Yeah, probably.
Honestly, yeah. So it's funny. Again, when I first started like my weight loss fitness journey, it's funny because I talk about it a little differently now with that whole like grind culture and everything else, which I still think has its place. But I remember at the beginning it was like guys like David Goggins, who was like really sort of like, okay, this guy, he's doing hard stuff every day, whether or not he wants to or not. He's pushing himself to that limit. And for me, that's where I kind of every morning was just like, okay, like no excuses, just do this. And that worked for me for a while, right? So I do appreciate like guys like that. There's an infinite amount of like people online. I actually enjoy more like talking to people that are like closer to me and like trainers that are closer to me.
Nice. Yeah.
Like Chris, he's the owner of TYG. Me and him are always kind of going back and forth and talking about everything from nutrition to lifting, and we have competing or difference of opinions on a lot of things. But we'll actually like kind of take the time to really like talk it out and like do some research, and then we always come to understandings with things, and sometimes we don't. But it's like it's good to kind of have those like checks all the time and really make sure that you're taking everybody's opinions into consideration and not just like pigeonholing yourself. Right.
The amount of knowledge that you two would be able to divulge on like a community that's like working out every day, like if you two were to like sit down, like it's probably insane and like obviously like probably way more advanced than like the average person would. Probably they could understand with some good explanation.
For sure.
But I can just imagine, because you guys are kind of like you're like community leaders in some respect. I think of it that way because you're taking care of our neighbors by keeping them healthy and helping them mentally and physically, striving towards goals, keeping everyone happy, and like a healthy community is a stronger community. So
for sure.
Big kudos to you guys.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That's the goal. Like I said at the beginning, like I love helping people, and I actually like truly get fulfillment out of it. So
that's wicked, man.
I'm always trying to kind of think of the next things and figure out ways to just, keep the community going.
So if you could give some words to your past self that was 330 pounds, and what would you say? What could you say if you could speak through the phone to them?
If I could talk to myself back then before my mindset kind of switched, I would probably just talk to myself and be like, listen, this is totally doable. Like, you can change anything with enough drive. You can change anything with enough dedication and discipline. I remember there was lots of times where I would think, this is just what it's going to be like forever. You know what I mean? And I know that in that first year when I kind of locked in, it was 130 pounds in a year, which was insane. And maybe there was like things that I did that weren't necessarily like the healthiest. Like I was eating like such a low calorie diet, and every time I'd stand up, it felt like I was going to pass out. And I was like very extreme with it. But I think I would just tell myself that it's definitely not easy, but it's simpler than you think. And I think that everybody has the capability to be able to change their life for the better.
Wicked, man. Awesome. How can people find you?
So you can find me on Iron Sons Training on Instagram. I have my TikTok as well for Iron Sons Training. Usually I try to do everything kind of through my social media and everything else. And if you want to ever come and take a class at TYG, I coach there as on top of all that. And I'm just around the Whitby area, and you can come check me out.
Sick, dude. Thanks for coming in, man. I'll definitely be reaching out. It
Awesome.
sounds like a wicked time.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in, bro.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Awesome, dude. Thank
Cool.
you. Thank you.